Having a to-do list for projects is great. Being able to tick off items is even better. But before you tick off an item on your to-do list, make sure you have taken the final step. Hi, I'm Nico Waters, and welcome to the Boat Galley Podcast. I'm not talking about celebrations, but I am talking about a really important final step before any project is really done. Today's episode of the Boat Galley Podcast is sponsored by Prism Polish, the ultimate all-in-one metal polish. It cleans, polishes, and protects all in one easy step. Safe for all metals, it is 100% non-toxic and environmentally friendly. Save 10% on your first order at prismpolish.com using the promo code GALLEY at checkout. Don't wait any longer. Order Prism Polish today and make all your stubborn metal shine like new. I suppose if you're talking about a stainless project, then maybe polishing is the final step of it. But there are other projects too, and sometimes it's easy to overlook this tiny little critical final step. Our to-do list is built on a reminders app that we can share with each other. There's way more than one list. Buy for Mischief, Mischief projects, load onto Mischief, put Calypso to bed for the winter, and the list of lists goes on and on. Each one of these lists has many items, and many of those items have subtasks. The Mischief projects list, it started with 84, has swelled over time to 151 projects. We're down to 37 remaining, only 12 of which are critical. It's possible that we actually did make our launch date of November 7th, only a full month later than we had hoped. One of the critical projects on that list is Install Monitor. The monitor is a mechanical self-steering gear that keeps the boat steering on a course relative to the wind angle. It's built by a company called Scanmar out in California. The monitor has been cleaned and polished. It's been bolted into position for a dry fit, taken off, and bedded in place with sealant. The paddle has been hooked up. There is an argument to be made that the monitor has indeed been installed. But not so fast. The control lines still need to be run. And most important, it has not been tested. And if you're paying attention, this means that you realize this is a critical project that will not be ticked off as finished until after we're in the water, and probably a little ways past being in the water. Yeah, you're right. Because the final step of any project at all is to test it. It's fine and dandy to say that the propane system is good to go when you hook up the propane tanks to the stove, and yet it's another level entirely when you successfully boil water on the stove. When Jeremy was putting the final touches on the mast wiring, with the mast on sawhorses still at ground level, Chris, one of the yard guys, wandered by. "You gonna test that?" Jeremy looked at him. "Hey," said Chris, "it's way easier to fix it when it's not 50 feet in the air." And he's 100% right. Later that evening, when it was dark enough to see lights, Jeremy took a spare little battery out to the mast, hooked him up, and the ensuing glow made it clear that the mast wiring was indeed good to go. Still, was mast wiring ticked off the list? Nope. Not until the mast was stepped and the wires were hooked up to the electrical panel and the lights worked, which wasn't quite as easy as this sentence makes it sound, because a couple of the wires from the electrical panel were dead, involving some good boat yoga and a few curses. But at least, thanks to the testing ahead of time, it did not involve a trip up the mast. There's a saying that when you assume something, you make a you-know-what out of you and me. Plugging wires into an electrical panel and assuming that all will work is a case in point. That's one of the things where boat life is a little different than land life, because on land, pretty much you assume you're going to plug something in and it's going to work. And probably if it doesn't work, you're not going to go through the process of testing out the wiring in the walls. Sometimes, on a boat, often it will work just fine. But if it doesn't, and you haven't tested it, and you go sailing at night and you flick the lights on since you tested one part of it or you just plugged it in and then the lights don't come on, it's tempting to hook up wires or connect propane lines or bolt in a self-steering gear and call it done. But it's not done until it's been tested. even if it means you have to wait a long time to tick that item off the list. I can't wait to share an anchorage with you when we've ticked off those critical projects and we just get to toast to our incredible good fortune at being able to live this incredible life on the water. Thank you so much for listening to the Boat Galley podcast. Our goal here is to help you make boat life better, and we hope we've done that in some way, big or small. Have the most spectacular week.